hopefully someday go back to their homes.
This is boring.
We're bored.
Tell some jokes. This is
something. Entertain us.
This is boring.
Come on.
So, very important.
We're bored.
This is. Are you serious? This is boring.
This is boring. We came here to be entertained.
Get out of here.
This is boring.
I'm so
I love
bored.
you, but this is really boring.
Donald, you're boring.
Boring.
Boring. Boring.
Welcome to The Hole. I am Rob Sprance.
And I'm Lori Levine.
And we are back after a epic hiatus for our 14th season. And there is no better guest to kick it off with than the Good Liars, Jason and Davram from the Good Liars, who I have to say, guys, the amount of content that you guys put out politically between the pranking of the politicians and just the overall interviews, which you really don't have to do much, but just lead them right into or lead them right into things. Sometimes it's there are so many clips that I've shared of you guys, not even realizing it was you. Now that I've gotten more familiar with you guys over the last year, there are so many clips that I'm starting to realize I shared that, and there's so many of them from just from the January 6th to all the pranks, which we'll get into all of those. But the main reason why they're here is because these guys have started a podcast called The Good Liars Tell the Truth. I've listened to the first one. I did not listen to the January 6th because I want to hear it from you guys and not hear it from anywhere else. Because when I was watching some of that in the film, they have two movies also, one called The Supporters and one called Undecided. And in The Supporters, I started to see January 6th, and it kind of just stopped. So I had a feeling there's some really interesting stuff going behind that. But definitely check out their podcast. But the first question I have for you guys is, how did you get to this level? What started this? I know you're both comics. You're both incredibly funny as it is. But what made you kind of want to do this stuff and get into that? And did it kind of just come to you after, I know you did an Occupy Wall Street prank early in the beginning? Where did this come from to get started?
Well, that was it. That was the one. The Occupy Wall Street thing is the first time that we did comedy in the real world together. Before that, we were just basketball buddies. We'd play pickup basketball. Mm-hmm. And then when Occupy Wall Street happened, we had an idea for kind of one sketch, one funny video. We got some thrift store suits, and we went down there representing the 1%. And we were like, if you guys don't stop protesting and we make less money, we're not going to be able to do as much cocaine. And we can't have that. And so we thought
tragic.
It was, yeah, exactly. You'll feel sorry for us. And we knew we were being over the top, but we were really surprised when people thought we were real. The media thought we were real, but that investment bankers thought we were real and actually joined our protests, which we were calling Occupy Wall Street. And so it kind of took on a life of its own.
Jamie Dimon walked out there with you guys.
It was, I don't know. So there was some video and somebody was like, is that Warren Buffett out with you guys? It was not Warren Buffett. It was not Warren Buffett.
And, it's funny. There's still, to this day, I see interviews news clips of one of the pranks that you did. And at no point is it spoken about as a prank. For example, you guys just went to one of Nikki Haley's events as Swifties and just started hammering her. It's just the concept of all this great. And just of all the things you could do, you just started hammering her about how much does she like Taylor Swift. And I also saw some news clips, and at no point did they mention it's a prank. It's like Swifties attack Nikki Haley. There's very little vetting going on these days, and that's kind of what you guys are pointing out quite a bit.
I had to download some.
Not even a Swiftie. Okay, Swifties against
What you heard right there was the sound of self-proclaimed Swifties interrupting Nikki Haley's town hall. Haley was in the middle of her speech when two men began to ask her if she was a Taylor Swift fan. Haley supporters fired back, telling them to sit down. The two were then escorted out. Haley responding by saying, "Thank God for free speech."
Yeah, especially like in our earlier days, I would say like it was part of a goal kind of to be like, we thought that was funny, the media to report on this really funny story out there. Now it's fake news, and it's a whole nother era of media that we're kind of like a little unsure if we want to be part of the fake news. There's so much fake news out there now. But with the Nikki Haley one, we thought it was pretty obvious that it was a pretty ridiculous thing to do, because one of us asked a question and then 2 minutes later, another one gets up protesting, saying she's not a Swiftie, like she hates Taylor Swift. We thought it was pretty obviously like a prank, but the media, they love the story.
Yeah, it goes to show how like kind of boring these things are. That like if anything happens, they're not gonna find a reason not to talk about it. They're excited, to share the story, even if it's obvious.
Do you find it a little easier when there's a larger group of candidates and there's a lot more smaller stump speeches than when it gets closer and closer and the crowds get bigger and bigger?
Well, it depends. I mean, it really depends on the year. I mean, this year, there just weren't as many candidates in general, and none of them were really serious contenders to Trump, really.
Yeah.
But like in past years, 2016, which was really the first time we were out on the campaign trail, there was all these small events in Iowa, and it was really exciting. You know, for us, the first time doing this, we're like shooting guns with Rick Santorum, and like, and Davram's asking Ben Carson to sign a medical marijuana.
Yes, that was really good. So he just signed that piece of paper, didn't even look at it. I saw that. I mean, it was at a restaurant in his defense, but he was just like, yeah. Get out of here.
Yeah. Of course you want my autograph. Everyone wants Ben Carson's autograph.
There was a scene that didn't make our movie where I like sit down next to him and I'm like, I was referencing actually before we started recording here. Laura, you mentioned my elbow injury, actually my shoulder injury. I actually got medical advice from Ben Carson. I was like, it's clicking in my shoulder.
He was like, "Don't get the vaccine."
That's it.
Yeah. Do some stretches and make sure healthcare becomes privatized. That's
it was actually very funny what he did, because I asked him this question and then he took like a long pause and nodded for a little bit and then was like, "Keep an eye on it." And I was like, that's what you were thinking about for that 30 seconds, was just to say,
it takes a lot of medical school to be able to say keep an eye
on it. Meanwhile, his eyes are closed all the time.
Right.
He's supposed to be like the best brain surgeon in the world.
Yeah, I think he's got, what is it, gifted hands? He has his gifted hands that he actually is a very good brain surgeon. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure he is. I haven't. Then
Until
again,
he got a head injury.
Then again, if he botched any, they're not around to tell you about it. So.
Like I performed one on myself, and I haven't been the same since.
How do you even know? Yeah. So the two things. I mean, you guys are really good at a lot of things, but the two things that get obviously the most attention and are the most entertaining in my eyes are, number one, the interviews of the Trump supporters, and it's not just Trump supporters. Like, you've gone to other events and Andrew Yang and things like that. Again, we'll get to it. But there's that part of it where you're just asking questions and pointing out just the hypocrisy of it, when sometimes not even having to point it out, where they're just going there themselves. And then there's the other side where you're doing the pranks and either one of those. But both of those, I've got to think that you have gotten some threats or have been a little nervous quite a bit. I'm sure the pranks, you get nervous before. We'll get to that in a sec. But just the going to those rallies, even though you kind of cloak yourself as, either neutral or just being in that world, have you ever gotten people like cornering you or threatening you or just eyeballing you the wrong way?
Eyeballing, yes. That's constant. But I think a couple times, like, oddly enough, we went to a Pence rally before 2016, and that was probably one of the more violent reactions we've seen, which was surprising.
Really?
The
Wow.
Pence crowd.
Was it Mother?
Yeah,
Mother's friend.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mother came up and took one of the camera guy's cameras and swung it at me. That must have been mother. But like, I think there's always it's always a little bit tense, but we like to think we're kind of good at not letting it ever get over the top. And thankfully, as tense of things as have gotten, we have been able to kind of leave. The only time we were ever actually arrested was for trying to shut down SantaCon in New York. So
of all the things,
of all these political events, we've gotten out unscathed.
And so, how long did they hold you when you got arrested?
3 years.
No, wow, so just getting out.
No, it was like a couple hours. Just a couple hours. It was not fun. I don't recommend it. Recommend it.
Were you handcuffed?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
And I was like,
there's
really,
like a
really
picture.
strict.
Yeah, there's like a picture of us. So the idea was that he was a liberal and I was a conservative, and the only thing that brought us together was our hatred of SantaCon. So he had a hat. What did your hat say?
Fine ass feminist.
Fine ass feminist. And mine was a MAGA hat, and there's just a picture of us both getting handcuffed and me just staring daggers at Jason, being like, "Can't believe you got us into this."
So that MAGA hat alone, like just walking around with it, aside from the Trump supporters, just getting ready to go do it. Do you get shit from people or weird looks from that? Because I can imagine like just wearing that hat, walking around is. A lot of people don't take kindly to it.
Yeah, we filmed in New York for our movie The Supporters, which we shot on like a shoestring budget or whatever. So it's just like 2 camera guys and us. And we're wearing MAGA hats around. We're playing Trump supporters like in the big city for the first time. And we shot in, I think, 2019 and 2020. Mm-hmm. And that was just not the best. It's never a great time, I don't think, to wear a MAGA hat in New York City, but like, no one was violent or anything. It was just like, getting looks from people.
Yeah.
We're not happy with it.
But when you're at a Trump rally and you're screaming, "You're boring. This is so boring." Like, you're not fearing for your life?
That was, it was with the pranks, there's like a little thing you got to like shut off in your brain a little bit, while also like being hyper aware of your surroundings, because the last thing you want to do is have anyone get hurt around you, and you don't want to get hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But with that one, we'd been there for 2 hours, and Trump had been speaking for like 45 minutes, and we actually had planned something else to do, and we just had really gotten bored. And we were legitimately bored. And then Davram just kept saying to me, "This is so boring. This is so boring." We were like,
and just to get you in the mindset of it, it's not just the rally, it's the 3 hours waiting in line beforehand.
Right.
And the 4 speakers before him, and then the 45 minutes of his speech. But anyway, Jason, you were saying.
No, it's just, it was very boring, and we realized this would actually really hurt his feelings. It would actually be
sitting
funny.
president at the time, right?
No, this was in 2016, so it was before he won, which was like, could we do it now? Probably it would be a lot. I mean, even without our recognition, like getting recognized by campaign people would be harder now. But at that point, it was like there was probably only like 400 people or 300 people at the rally, and now it's like 10,000 people go see him. He's extremely popular still.
So you mentioned getting recognized. So does that happen a lot? Like where at this point where you're starting, they catch you or they have an eye out for you already?
I think it happens pretty much every time we go to one of these things, but maybe only a couple of people. And sometimes, oddly enough, they're happy to see us. So okay. We are a little bit confused by that that reaction, but we're happy that's the reaction.
They're like, "Come interview us. Come interview us."
Yeah.
We're like, "What is this? This is weird. This is very weird."
Yeah. But it's surprisingly like sometimes people are a little upset to see us, and then we kind of move along, and it's no big deal. But like I would say, at least half the time, people are like, "It's those guys," and we kind of move along either way. But it never comes to much.
That's cool. Now, but when you get to to the pranks part of it now. So there's a couple, and again, you guys, the best thing that you can do, and I'll drop this all over, is go to thegoodliars.com, because that'll give you not only links to everything. Their YouTube channel's a place to go for sure, but it gives you a portal to get to everything, because you do want to subscribe to the podcast and you do want to check out the 2 movies that they did, which are great, and as well as all of these clips. So that's a great place to go. A couple of different things that you've done, and another one that I thought was fantastic and didn't realize that it was you, Davram, until a little later when I watched it again, was Rick DeSantis and the participation trophy. Ron DeSantis, sorry.
Ron DeSantis,
and the participation trophy, which is probably, of all the things to shove up his ass, is the best possible
Especially
thing.
next to his wife.
Right. Who actually laughs while you do it.
Happy accidents. We weren't sure she was going to be there or anything like that. But sometimes this is how things come together. It was like the night before, and I went to a trophy store in my neighborhood. I was like, is there any way you guys could make a participation trophy? They were like, well, it'll take like 10 minutes. And I was like, oh.
All right, I've got the time.
Yeah, I was just saying it like there was no way this was going to happen. I was like, I'll happily wait. So sometimes the stuff occurs to us at the last minute, but it seemed like the perfect thing. It seemed like he was definitely not going to be successful. And obviously all he does is try and win this war on woke and on participation trophies. And yet here he is publicly, trying his hardest and losing. So it seemed like the perfect thing to do. And then in Iowa, at one of these small events, that couldn't be more perfect to try and blend in and then just be able to walk right up to him.
Yeah. And he's been, there's a lot of talk about his fake campaign smile. And he fired it up when you got up there. It's him right now.
Totally.
He had it ready for you. So like I saw he tried to push it back, and then you walked away. Was that like a meet and greet setup, or you just walked up?
He reached to grab it at first. He was like, "Oh, thank you," and then he realized, "No, I shouldn't. I don't take this. I don't like this." Yeah.
It was the Iowa caucus, and I don't know if you remember, it was particularly cold this year. At one point, it was negative 51 degrees with the wind chill.
Oh my God.
And so we were in this town, Atlantic, Iowa. Is that right, Jason?
Yeah.
Atlantic, Iowa. It's this like tiny place, so it never would have been a crowded event in the first place. But considering the weather and everything, it was a smallish room and just media and maybe 15 supporters. So just trying to blend in and not have all the security notice me, and then kind of go for it as soon as they started speaking. And it's how kind of a lot of these things go. Blend in and then try and pick a moment and hope it's funny.
It was the day after a blizzard, and I'm sure there was discussion like the night before, like, should we even go to Atlantic, Iowa? I don't think there hasn't been a lot of RSVPs. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of people there. And then they finally were like, let's go, let's do it. And then, of course, the only thing people remember is Davram giving him the participation token. It's like, should have followed my gut there.
Right. Or just the conversation in the limo when they were afterwards, like, how did you let him get up there? I'm sure we must have blamed everybody else, I'm sure.
And then how does it work? Do you guys bring in like 2 people with their cameras, like iPhones, or who's filming that?
All our secrets.
Yeah, we can tell you.
The sausage is made.
Yeah. But there was I mean, the media, the big video that was sent was like from the media, but we had there's ways to get it done. There's ways to get it done.
Just take the fifth.
Also, Jason, it was kind of a big moment, but Jason kind of had his own moment right afterwards.
I mean, I had the opposite of a moment. So Davram did this thing. He had gotten kicked out, and I was walking in. And then we were like kind of ships in the night. And then I went up and like stood next to them as they're like giving this speech. Like the governor of Iowa is up there too. And then it's like the governor of Iowa, congressperson, and then like me. And where I'm just like nodding along with them for like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. And then I'm like, I'm going to do a thing. And I like say one word, and the because Davram had just done this big thing, a security guy just grabs me by my neck and takes me out of like a cartoon character. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm out of there.
And you wonder why your shoulder hurts.
Yeah, there goes
Yeah,
the
exactly.
shoulder.
Exactly. But my doctor said to keep an eye on it, so I'm just going to keep an eye on it.
I get someone to yank on it every so often.
Yeah.
So we'll have to get back out
We're
there.
still talking about his arm, or
Yeah. Well, hey. Look, that's what my doctor said. Keep an eye on it. I don't know.
so
Your doctor.
so this,
Ben
I mean,
Carson.
Ben Carson,
for a moment like that, especially when you first started doing it, I mean, your heart has to start jumping out of your chest when you know like it's coming, and the awkwardness of the room, and just that like you have to have. If you have no nerves for that, I'm shocked, because I mean it's got to be like when you're like, all right, I'm doing this, like that initial rush has to be a little nerve wracking, though.
Yeah, it still is. I mean, it doesn't get any easier to do.
Right.
Like we've done it for so long now, and but there's definitely like some nerves, and like you're saying, like your heart rate goes up. I think my watch like notices, like, hey, dude, you okay, man? Your heart rate's up a little bit. But yeah, so it doesn't get any easier, but it's more just like getting yourself mentally prepared, and then making sure if we're doing something together that we're on the same page, and it's still fun though.
Yeah.
Still fun.
But like
It's like-
proposing to Elizabeth Warren, who's a senator.
Everyone too.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
don't
could
feel
have been
great about that one.
shot.
No, I probably should have been. I don't know. It was funny, yeah, because it was like we were debating it, because the whole plan was never to be on stage for that. It was like to do it. There's like a selfie line. We were gonna do it afterwards. Then we like found out she wasn't doing the selfie line. We were like debating. We're like, all right. But then afterwards, I felt terrible. I didn't feel good. That was one of the pranks. I was like, I didn't like the way that one felt.
She rolled with it, though. She did roll with it, but I was
Yeah.
thinking the same thing. Like, these guys are gonna get shot. Like,
I'm gonna knock on some wood right now, but yes.
right. But yeah, like
It was
that,
also a day where we did like several of these, so we were like, it's a
5.
matter of time. This was like the third prank of the day, all within an hour, and we would do 2 more that day. And
Yeah.
so that I guess,
Maybe was it 2 or 3? Was it? I can't remember what the order of it, but because then we went to a Pete Buttigieg event, and I got recognized right away because they were like, "You're the guy that was just on stage with. What are you doing? Come on, man! Like, serious?" But
Half
then
an
we went
hour
to another
ago.
one after that.
Go
Yeah,
home.
and it was fine. Yeah.
Are you guys going to get disguises?
I
We
don't
got a
know.
long
little bit of this-
election year.
Long time ago, we did a prank with Ted Cruz, and then we tried to go to a Ted Cruz event later the same day, and we wore glasses, and they were like, "No, it's you guys." We were like, "Oh, we agree, we look like them, but we're wearing glasses, so it's cool."
we couldn't be
And
the
they
same
didn't buy
people.
yeah.
We were wearing glasses. You see, those people
see?
weren't wearing glasses.
Right,
What don't
yes.
you understand?
We're
here?
far
I don't-
smarter than those two. We would never do
Yeah,
it.
right.
Yeah, the
We're
Ted Cruz one.
intellectuals.
The
Yes.
Ted Cruz one is great. Too. Would you guys mind if I drop the clips in this episode?
Oh
some
yeah,
of them?
sure.
You know,
Of course.
Totally.
I'll put
Yeah.
links and stuff. Yeah, so I'll drop the Ted Cruz and a couple of others in there. Ted Cruz, I don't want to ruin.
But Ted's a common denominator for they've used him. He's easy.
yeah.
There's so much to make fun of.
Yeah, I think I was
That's
doing
true.
we do a thing in our live show about Ted Cruz, and it's like we made the joke one time. We're like I think it's been like 4 or 5 pranks that we've done, and it's like a Jim in The Office when he's talking about like pranking Dwight. He like names them
Right.
like one after the other. And he's like, well, when you say them all together, it sounds a little mean, but no, it's funny. It's funny. He deserves it. But it was I think it's 4 or 5, and we did another one 2 years ago that was pretty funny too. So maybe he's running for Senate again this year. So who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
So
Right?
mark our calendars.
2 guys with glasses walking in.
Yeah, exactly.
No bad intention.
I'm mild mannered Clark Kent. How are you doing? Yeah.
So I want to talk about January 6th with you guys, because there's a video of that you guys shared that I shared a lot when I first saw it. Again, no association with you mentally at the time. Okay. It was the one where they first started. I think, Davram, you were the one that shot this. They first started moving up, and you panned to someone singing religious hymns, like singing like this. And that part to me of the shot was almost as terrifying as what was happening, because it just kind of brought it to a different level of, okay, these are just a bunch of nuts doing nutty things. And then all of a sudden, when I saw that woman starting to sing like that, there was a chill that I got that made it very real. And I noticed that both in your YouTube coverage, and I'm also impressed with the fact that you've shot the film as characters at the same time you're actually shooting footage as you guys. Like, you kind of mixed it up a little bit, it seems like. But when this all started going down, I didn't see any footage after that. Like, did you guys cut and run and just get out of there once you started to see what was going on? Do you have more footage that you never put out? Or is this just that I didn't see it? Because it looked like right after they start storming, you had a much more serious face, and it's even in the film too. And then that's where the coverage kind of ends.
Well, that moment I think was Jason, actually, but I think maybe in the movie we cut it that my character is the one witnessing it. Is that right? In the film, you can hear Jason be like, "Oh no, they're storming the Capitol! What the fuck?"
I'm like, they're storming the fucking Capitol. Like,
yeah. So we shot like a few bits of film right around then, but we did not expect to see that, and so we didn't expect to see that. So we're filming, and then these religious people are singing "In the Name of Jesus," and it's like this revival thing going on, and a stretcher, a gurney goes by with someone on it, and they're breaking through. Just to describe it a little bit, it's totally wild footage, and it's like the moment they break through. And then we filmed a couple other little pieces of footage, and then we decided to go around the Capitol to see the bigger crowd, because that's from the backside of the Capitol, which I think is where they initially broke through. I think that's what you're seeing captured.
Okay.
And when we went around the side, we kind of got threatened. We got surrounded. They saw Jason had a microphone, and it was like, you're the fake news media. You're the fake news media. Got very intense.
They surrounded us, like a group of like 8 Trump supporters surrounded us and like formed a little circle around us, and were calling us fake news. And we were kind of like, this might be it for us. This might be it. And we were wearing masks at the time, which was just like, putting like an arrow at you.
Yeah. Good point.
And luckily, there was like flashbangs going off that sounded like bombs, because the police would do that to like get the protesters out of there. And one of those went off like as they were closing in on us, and they all turned around. And Davram and I looked at each other, and we just like got out of there. We were like, that's it. And from the moment like they stormed it, when we saw like how serious everything was, it was just the two of us, and we were just filming for the other there. Mm-hmm. And we like kind of stopped filming. We were kind of just like in survival mode. Like, we're here, we're seeing this. There's like random people would come up and talk to us, and we were like, I hope these people don't want to beat us up. I hope those people that are beating the cops up 20 feet in front of us don't decide they want to beat us up, or they recognize us for some reason. Like, I don't think we were, we weren't like super big at that point online or anything, but it was just a terrifying day. I don't recommend it to anybody. Going to January 6th, it was not fun. Not fun.
1 out of 10 stars.
Would not recommend.
I actually, on the podcast, I gave it 3 out of...
You gave it 3, I gave it 2, so it had some redeeming qualities. I remember we were walking up, and there was a group of police officers like laughing and joking, and then if we needed any kind of signal that this really was bad, it's like the same group of cops. One of them was like calling for backup and crying, like 10 minutes later. So it's like, Jesus. It really was. It's hard. Like, you can overuse words like surreal and wild and crazy, but being there, it felt like otherworldly. And I don't know.
Well, Trump said it's going to be wild. So
yes,
it was wild.
Did law enforcement
He never lies.
ask to see your footage at all?
No, it was interesting. We heard other people had that same thing, but no. We were not filming. I'm trying to think where we were filming, like around the ellipse where Donald Trump was speaking, around DC that day, the Freedom Plaza the night before, and then at the Capitol. So I guess the actual storming of it, we put a video up that was shared a lot. So maybe they could have just looked at that and seen who the people were that were storming from that. Because I think there weren't that many camera crews on our side of the Capitol. There were, a lot of them were on the other side where the big crowd was, but where they actually broke through was where we were. So I'm not sure. Maybe it was used as in evidence somewhere, but not and did not reach out to us.
Again, at one point you're talking to someone who appears like, just to the naked eye at first to be someone from the National Guard, but he just was one of the people that was indicted, right? Like there was a guy like that had a helmet on and he had like all riot gear.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
He was on, it was like when we first got there the day before. We were walking around just to kind of get a lay of the land and talk to this guy who seemed super nice, except that he was there to try and overturn the election and wearing all this camo gear. And then, yeah, you're exactly right. When we were kind of keeping up with the news in the days following, he was on the FBI wanted list. So I don't know where he is right now.
Yeah, hopefully they got him. Did you guys feel, was there a vibe leading up to it that you thought maybe this could go awry, or did it just the moment they started storming is when it clicked? Like, did you kind of feel walking around talking to people different from the usual supporters that you would get when you go to these rallies?
Yeah, definitely. The night before, we talk about this on the podcast, but the night before we're walking around DC and we're looking for a place to eat. And on like every other street corner, there were like 6 to 8 like militia guys on radios in like full camo, riot gear, like ready for battle. And they would radio being like, hey, there's 2 guys walking by with masks. And then we'd go 2 blocks later and they'd be like, oh, those guys just passed us. Like you'd hear that They were like communicating with each other, like setting up perimeters inside of DC. And that was the moment where I was like, oh, this is gonna be bad. Davram thought from the beginning, he's like, there's gonna be violence, it's gonna be terrible. And I was like, it's gonna be fine, dude. Don't worry about it.
Well, we thought it might be like counter protesters and the crowd who showed up to the speech. It didn't. The moment of realizing, so we decided we were going to get out of town because we felt the temperature rising a little bit, and the speech was so like incendiary, and the people were like, every one of them was like, Civil War, yeah, maybe today. You're just like, wow, okay. Mm-hmm. So we went and we got the car and we were leaving DC and we kind of got turned around a little bit with all the traffic and people and everything. And then we end up driving alongside toward the Capitol and there's like a mob of thousands of people walking through the grass. We're like, oh, is there any way that that's the same crowd as was at the Trump's speech? Like it took us a second to kind of like have this click, and Jason was like, do you think he told them to go? And we looked on Twitter and he had said to go. So we're like, oh wow, this we did not see coming. Like a big speech a few blocks away like is a symbol, but saying go to the Capitol and create havoc during the vote is a whole other thing.
Right.
So then we were like, well, we don't know what's going to happen, so we pulled over because we wanted to see what was about to happen. But I don't think we could have really predicted it until we saw it.
No. And the people we talked to were like, Donald Trump's coming too. Like even like a media person somebody talked to was like, Donald Trump's on his way because he said that in the speech. So we would see like black like an Escalades like come up and we're like, is that Donald Trump coming? Like right before they broke through. And I was like, this is wild. He's like going to be leading the protesters like into the Capitol, like which maybe if he had his way that would have happened. And
right.
Yeah, I mean, as bad as it was, it could have been worse, I guess, at the end of the day. But I always was fascinated not only by your footage of it, but just the minute that happened and how it turned, because you guys are so very good at conveying whatever mood of wherever you are, whether it be ridiculous or funny or hypocritical or whatever it is. And you conveyed it very well, just by that. And it kind of happens at the end of the film, the supporters, which is kind of where that caps off. But even in your footage, so that's what made me wonder. I was like, they definitely were probably in some danger there, no doubt.
Yeah. Not fun.
Do you also because we get this quite a bit. One of the reasons is one of our episodes we had Noel Kassler from The Apprentice on. He worked on The Apprentice, and there was a 4-minute clip of him explaining that Trump shit his pants on set, and that blew up.
That.
it's still to this day one of our biggest videos, but it's also loaded with death threats in the comments like every day. Do you guys get those as well, for the people who aren't quite getting what you're doing, or they get it to a T?
Oh no, they get it. That's why they're sending it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
we get messages, but we don't, like, I don't check my DMs from people I don't recognize. Like, they're there every once in a while. We hope people aren't serious and we go about our business and don't let it get to us. But I'm sure that we get those, and when we have bigger videos that people are watching and it's a wider audience, definitely, in the comments or in messages, definitely happens.
Yeah, at first it's quite jarring, but then as time goes on, you just see enough of them. You're like, these, you start just making fun of the grammar.
You're like, get in line.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
All right. So on a much lighter note, of all the conspiracies you've heard from people that you talk to, what's your favorite one that you think is the most ridiculous? And there are quite a few ridiculous ones, but that you hear from more than one person, that it, you know what I mean? Like, it's a common conspiracy.
I don't know. I feel like it's a toss-up.
You're going to say JFK Jr.?
JFK Jr., do you think he's alive?
Yeah, I do. He faked his own death because he knew that the Clintons were coming after him. This has been planned for years and years and years and years.
What would it take for you to believe that JFK Jr. died in a plane crash in 1999? What about the autopsy reports?
There was no autopsy.
The divers who found the body?
They didn't find anything. That's why they were looking.
Do you think JFK Jr. is in Pittsburgh right now?
It's hard to tell where he's at. What's the old saying? Keep your enemies close, but don't let them know.
Yeah.
So, just saying.
There's that old saying, fake your own death in a plane crash, and then you can come back 25 years later and become vice president with a reality show host. No, it's JFK Jr. I'm like, compared to these, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I can see that. Because one of them was Jim Carrey. Is Joe Biden? Yeah, heard that twice. Which is like, it was like when he was falling up when Joe Biden was walking up Air Force One, he like slipped and fell 3 times. It is actually kind of funny. And then he salutes at the top, which is like capping off the joke. But a woman that I talked to in Ohio said, I believe that was Jim Carrey in a mask. And like, there's all these people playing Joe Biden. And then I heard it again last year in Georgia. And I was like, it didn't have the same reaction. I was like, oh, I've heard that before. I don't care. But we've heard from a lot of people that JFK Sr.
I wrote
alive.
this down.
Oh no.
That he's actually Trump's uncle.
Yes. And he is president of the United States right now.
Right.
So at 107 or 8 or something, that's what's going on.
What did the guy say? Some guy said this, and I was like, wouldn't he be like 107? And then he was like, he'd be 108 and walked away.
Yeah.
Get it
right.
I've already thought about this. Don't get your facts right, newsman. Yeah.
It's so odd that they've chosen the Democrats, though. Like, it's really
I think
odd.
it's just they're iconic. I think that's why.
Maybe that's why. But and even Jim Carrey's Joe Biden thing, like, you would think if you want to put down Joe Biden, you'd want him to take credit for falling down the stairs 3 times. Like, it's that's where the hypocrisy is. Like, so you hear one person say how he's evil and dividing the country and he's destroying everything and on purpose. And that same person will tell you that he can't form a sentence or think for himself. So, like,
but also he's not president.
Right.
But also he's not president. That's what I was going to say. We had another interaction like 2 weeks ago in North Carolina where this woman was convinced that Joe Biden wasn't the president. In fact, that it was Obama pulling the strings. But then she went on to say that Trump is actually, wink, still president. And, she clarified, yes, I do mean Trump is still president right now. And then I asked, like, why would it matter if Obama is telling Biden what to do if Biden isn't the president? If Trump is still the president.
Right.
And it was like, it just wouldn't, it wouldn't compute. And it was like, I repeated myself 5 times. She repeated herself 5 times. And that was kind of the end of that. So it was like, not only were they both wild theories, but they were in direct competition with each other, and that was fine with her.
Yeah. And
Wait, can I just ask, in the movie The Supporters, which everyone should watch, it's really good, Dale plays an incel, which like you never see in mainstream TV or movies. Whose idea was that? Like you see it on 4chan. I've never seen anyone talk about that besides The
Groundbreaking
Supporters.
representation in our movie, The
Yeah.
Supporters.
It was brilliant.
That's right, representation. I don't remember who came up with it. We were just like trying to figure out these characters and wanted to do this thing about two, Trump supporters who were trying to make it in the world of like conservative media living in their van together. And we wanted to have our characters have like some differences. We didn't want two versions of the same guy. So I don't know if you remember, Jason, how that came about, but yeah, representation.
I think we just were like,
Dale the incel.
Incel, and we'd gotten a lot of death threats for some video or something, like all these Trump supporters commenting on our stuff, and we were like, be funny to do a movie about the people that would do that. Like, what are they like? And so we did a short, and then we did the feature, and he was an incel throughout all of it. He ended up losing his virginity to a Confederate statue, but he wasn't
yes, yes, that was a quite sensual scene. And,
you thought so? Okay.
Yeah, you did a great job.
That was all real. That actually was the only part of the movie I wasn't.
I'm sure it is, and you might need Ben Carson again for whatever you did to that statue. So. The one other thing I did want to talk to you about, I haven't seen it, but you guys also do live shows, which seems like a lot of fun. Is that something you do often? And because I noticed that you just had one in I think Philly or in New York. So what happens at your live shows? What can people expect? So the next time you announce it, they can buy tickets and come see you.
Well, the show is called The Good Liars Fix America. And Davram and I solve 5 issues that are dividing the country, because we realize that all the filming we've done over the last decade is actually research, and we can use the research to solve all these problems. So we solve some big issues in it. And we also show some never before seen videos. So
very cool.
Right.
Yes.
And if you're in the audience, you're helping fix America. We've almost succeeded, I think, in the past shows, but I'm sure in the next one we will.
We just need more people to see it.
Yeah, we need more people to show up.
All right. Well, this will definitely help, I hope.
You'll get another one from us.
Yeah, right. So obviously, biggest question, what's next for you guys that you can divulge? I got to think that you're going to be, as things heat up, so is interest online, I'm sure. So is interest in what you guys do. You have anyone that you haven't pranked yet that you'd like to? Probably don't want to mention them, but anybody like you just missed maybe that you'll never be able to
was thinking if you wanted to do bipartisan, I'm originally from New Jersey, and Bob Menendez is quite a figure.
Oh yeah.
Yes. What is it? He put gold bars in his suits, or was it gold bars? Cash.
It was gold bars. They have codes on them, but he said he's always had them. Also met his wife at an IHOP.
He did, or you met it? Oh, okay.
No, that's true.
They met there. You didn't. You didn't meet his wife at an IHOP.
No, not yet. But the day is young.
Yeah. If we want to prank him, we got to hang out at the IHOPs. You're saying you're trying to give us a clue.
I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to be a trooper.
No, that's a good idea. We're equal opportunity pranksters. So you give us a name. It doesn't matter their party affiliation. We'll look into it.
So how about this instead? So you don't give anything away or ruin any plans. Is there anyone that you wished you could have pranked before it was all said and done, and you couldn't do it anymore?
Jason, I'm trying to think. You didn't you have someone you were really bummed dropped out? Why am I blanking on the name? Weren't you like, oh, that's too bad?
I mean, Mike Pence was gone. But I don't think that was it Mike Pence? I can't remember.
I don't know.
And I feel like
everyone dropped out so quickly.
Yeah. Do you ever get Mitch McConnell? Do you guys ever get him?
No, that's just like rude at this point.
Yeah, I guess that's true. He's pranking himself at this point.
Yeah, it's like lacking class to do anything with him, to be honest. But yeah, it would be fun.
Davram, have you ever been to the Beetlejuice theater that Lauren Boebert went to?
I know
you're from that area.
I know. Thanks for remembering. I'm from her. She's the the rep of my hometown where I grew up. I have
Although not
been able
anymore,
to-
right? She's going to move to a different district.
She's going to move to District 4, I think. No, that theater is in Denver, so that was the big city. We didn't make it over there much. But yeah, I hear a lot of wild stuff happens in that theater. So
Yeah, that's definitely a request. One of her or Marjorie Taylor Greene would definitely be high on the request list for me. So
Or
We've
Lindsay.
had a run in with Marjorie a couple times. It says she's a troll herself, so it's like it's an interesting thing. You just it has to be like super funny. So
makes sense. Well, I can't thank you guys enough for joining us. And once again, I want everyone to check out the Good Liars Tell the Truth podcast. I will now go listen to the January 6th episode as well. They've also done 2 films. Their most recent one is called The Supporters, which you can rent on Amazon. I believe that's where I rented it. And they also have one before that called Undecided, which is also very good. And it has a little bit of everything of what you guys bring to the table. So I can't thank you guys enough. And
wait, I want to get one more plug in.
Go,
Because you brought
plug
up
away.
Undecided. It reminded me.
Go.
If you want to see Undecided and you want to support us, we have a page on herohero.co/the Good Liars. And we're going to put extended episodes of the podcast up there and content you can't get anywhere else. And also, when you sign up, you can immediately watch the movie Undecided on there right when you get on there. So
perfect.
if you're looking to watch it, it's a great way to give it a watch.
Yeah, so
herohero.co/the Good Liars.
Yeah, and I will put the link as the YouTubers do right down here for you.
Right
guys.
down there.
I'll put it
Sub
right
here,
down there, right?
there. Yeah.
Yes, I will put the link there. But thank you again, guys, so much. Hang on one second. I'll just do this quick wrap up. Thank you for watching The Whole. I am Rob Sprance.
I'm Lori Levine.
Later, motherfuckers.